Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Film Pundits. We are here today to review the second to last episode of The Strain. My name is Adam Hlavik, and I'm joined here by Eric Bratlian. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. This is an exciting time. The show is coming to its season finale.
It sure is.
And we have some words about this second to last episode. So what we're going to do is, usually how we do it, is we're just going to give you overall impressions of the episode, followed by some spoilers, and then we're going to wrap it up and give you our final thoughts. So, starting with first impressions, what did you think, Eric?
I thought this was a good episode. I enjoyed it. There was definitely some fun stuff that happened. Just like they've been ramping up the fun stuff. We catch up on our main characters. We see Gus. We see what he's been up to, and we get a glimpse of some people who I was just talking about in the last episode that I wanted to see again. Which I'm happy about. And I'm going to definitely start talking about people I want to see in the next episode, and then, maybe I have some way of, summoning them into being in the episode, because it worked, I talked about them, and they were in it, and it was awesome. We had some action, kind of, a little bit, with some of our characters, which was nice. We got a little bit more backstory. We finally found out whose heart that is in the jar that Abe has, so that was interesting to find out. So we got some really cool story elements. We got some fun action stuff as well, and it was a good solid episode.
Yeah, I have to agree. I thought it was really good, and it was cool to find out who that heart belongs to, finally, after waiting for such a long time to figure out who that is. I think we had our suspicions, and our suspicions were pretty on point. But it was nice to see that, and it was definitely nice to see certain characters come back.
Yeah.
That we had been wondering, where were they this whole time? So overall, I think it was a great episode. So with that being said, I think it's time to jump into some spoilers. So if you guys want to avoid spoilers because you haven't watched the episode yet, go ahead and click on the Captain America poster behind me, and you guys will just be able to jump to the end with our final thoughts. Otherwise, spoilers. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So we open up on the Stoneheart group, and we see Eldritch laying there, really close to death. They're telling him, "Hey, man, everything's slowing down in your body. You're not going to be lasting much longer. You're kind of screwed." And then Icorst comes in, and he starts talking to him. And Eldritch says, "All right, so where's the master? What's going on?" And Icorst, being the not very pleasant person that he is, says, "Well, what if he sent me here to tell you that he's not going to come? He's not going to do anything for you." He says, I refuse to believe that. I believe he's going to come. He's going to save me. I'm going to live, and I'm going to make it through this because you still need me because I'm helpful to you." So it was definitely an interesting scene. I definitely got the idea that he's a goner. I was thinking, this is Icorst is here for a reason. He's pretty much telling him this is what's happening. You're screwed.
Yeah, that's definitely how I felt. I thought he was done for. I was like, okay, well, Icorst pretty much told him that he's just like, it's not happening. You're not going to be turned into a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
First impression of that scene was like, this is a total twist.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that was our opener. We get the credits, and then we cut back to Abe's pawn shop, and all the main group is coming back. They're coming in through the gate. They go in. They greet Ephraim's son, Nora's mother, and then Ephraim's son hands back the keys, and I couldn't help but think to myself, how the hell did they get back in? Didn't the kid have the only set of keys to that lock, or did they have extra keys to it?
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they kind of made it seem like the keys the kid had were the keys to the lock. How'd they get back in on their own? That's what I want to know. But I mean, I guess not a huge deal necessarily. And then Abe goes down and starts sort of talking to the heart.
The heart that he's been harvesting for years.
Yeah, exactly. It's been sitting there, and we know it's someone special to him, but we still don't know who it is at this point. And he starts talking to it about kind of what happened.
Yeah.
And then Nora comes in and sees him sitting there with it and asks him, what is this? How long have you had this? How old is this heart?
Is it a vampire heart? Can we,
Yeah, I mean, I think she can tell definitely what the deal is. She realized, she said, "Oh, how did you get this? What is it?" And Abe is just not in the mood at all. He just says, "Go away, leave me alone." And she seems a little offended, but she gets out of there. I think she kind of realizes what's going on. And then Ephraim sort of starts talking about what they just went through in the last episode. He starts saying, "Look, Abe did not make the right decisions here. He was way too headstrong, trying to rush in. He was trying to get us all killed, or at least himself killed. He's not thinking straight. And Vasily and Nora both sort of just stand up for him and realize why he did it, and kind of understand that it didn't necessarily mean that he didn't know what he was doing. It might have just been what it was, which is that after all these years of chasing and trying to find the master and finally getting to him and not killing him, it's like they understand why that would be a big deal and an issue, and why he would react the way he did.
Yeah.
And so Ephraim realizes he's the only one that feels that way, and he kind of sort of lets it slip to the side.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, Vasily, I feel like, is the one character who just gets everything, and he's just like, you have to roll with it. That's how it is. It's when you're after something like that for so many years, of course you're going to be kind of hot-headed at some point, and you're going to just try to jump into something a little too ambitiously, but
yeah,
that's how it is.
Yep. And so then right after that, we see the hacker girl. She shows up. She starts knocking on the gate, and of course Vasily lets her in.
Vasily excited.
He's got that little Vasily crush on her. Goes and lets her in.
Vasily.
And she walks in and says, "Look, I've got a plan." And Ephraim essentially says, "Look, we don't need another plan. We need a win." And she says, "Well, I've got to win." And out she pulls all this stuff for the emergency broadcast system. And she says, "Look, I can put you on every TV, radio, cell phone, everything. You're on everything. Like, this is extreme. I got to hack into the NSA. I got to do all this crazy stuff."
And you have like a 30-second window to get your message through. Yeah. So get your speech ready.
Yeah, he's like, "Well, shouldn't we do this during the day when people are awake?" She says, "No, we want the night crew, the people that aren't experienced, to get rid of you so you have the most amount of time possible."
Yeah.
Smart. And so then, you know, she just gets to work setting that up. She goes up on the roof. Her and Vasily have this little sort of heart-to-heart where we find out a little bit more about her past and how her father left and her mother didn't appreciate that and married all these bad guys, whatever. So we get a little insight into
her father died, actually.
Oh, died.
Yeah, he died when she was 15.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
He worked. I was it for the NSA or the FBI? I can't remember.
He was whatever. It was like the previous version of a hacker.
Right.
He was
before
doing
the internet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was like an activist out there doing the same thing she was, and she was saying if he was just born a little later, he would have been a hacker just like me. And then she sort of tells Vasily, like, you know, hackers are out there. We're trying to make the world a better place and not be too, you know, we're not trying to cause havoc. And then he says, "Well, what you just did, that kind of, you know."
Yeah, broke the internet.
Yeah, and she said, "Well, I kind of lost my way."
Yeah.
And so she even realizes, okay, I did some bad stuff, but I'm over. We realize she's a good person overall, and she wants to do good.
Yeah, she's trying to now redeem herself by helping them.
And so then Abe comes in and apologizes to everybody after that. He says, "Look, I know what I did. I apologize. I understand. This is my reasoning behind it, and I hope you guys can forgive me." And they essentially they seem to.
That's the one thing I really like about Abe's character. He's such an honest person, even though like his tactics are very extreme. He knows what needs to get done, and he will take the fault for something, even though, you know, he feels like whatever he's doing is right. So it shows some vulnerability to the character, but it humanizes him. He doesn't just seem like a guy who's going out there to just slaughter vampires.
Yeah.
You know, he's still a compassionate person.
Yeah, and in this episode we see some more flashbacks of Abe, but this time he's an adult.
I like these because he looks much more like the modern Abe, just younger.
I know. Before you even find out that it's definitely him, you're like, okay, the facial hair, the hat, the look, this is him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he's out trying to buy a horse, essentially. He's trying to rent one if he can, but he realizes that's not going to work because he wants to go up to some scary castle, and this guy knows it. So he buys the horse, brings it home, and we walk in, we see his wife, and then immediately I know that's who the heart is.
Yeah,
that's the heart. We know now, like, because it's kind of interspliced with scenes regarding the heart, so we're supposed to assume that's the heart. And so, you know, he comes home, talks to her, and we realize, oh, okay, he's like, she is his partner in this. She knows what's happened. She's walking around with like a limp, so something must have happened to her at some point.
How much time do you think has passed between the last time we saw him? It seemed like at least like a 10, 15 year gap.
His hair was graying already.
Yeah.
So he was definitely older.
Yeah,
he
it could have been like
probably 40s or so, I'd say.
Maybe not. Maybe like mid.
Your hair starts graying when you're 30s?
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you're hunting vampires, I guess that adds a lot of stress to your life.
I would say he's probably like mid 30s or so.
Okay.
Pushing late 30s. But yeah, you know, it's probably like a good 15, 20 years after the whole incident in World War II. I think there was a date, but I'm not 100% sure.
I don't remember seeing one, but there could have been.
But yeah, I mean, he is older.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we see him getting that horse. He goes back, tells his wife, look, I got the horse. I'm going to go up there. She tells him, look, be careful. If they're nesting, don't bother. Get out of there.
Get the F out.
Yeah. And so he goes on his way and finds this well that's by a castle.
Which is already a bad sign.
Yeah. Ties up a rope to a rock and crawls down this well. And just the shot they give us of the rope makes us realize this rope's not going to be there when he gets back. There was a lot of foreshadowing there with the way they filmed this episode.
Yeah.
So, he
Which
goes,
I think you can already kind of piece together.
Yeah, you kind of get that idea. So, he crawls down in there. Is for some reason seems like he's crawling around for a long time, and then finally comes up on. Oh, by the way, he has like 3 or 4 flashlights. Which, of course, back then they got flashlights. They still don't have. Oh my God, that's
he's got a flashlight, and he's got
the
his trusty sword.
Flashlights, sword. Oh yeah, we see that he has a sword at this point too, which is interesting to see.
Yeah.
And so he gets in there, looks around on the ground, sees a few of them nesting, and then sees one standing. Looks at it. And she just says to him, Professor, it's getting awfully dark, isn't it? And you're a long way from home.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes what they're doing.
Yeah, he realizes what that message means.
Yeah, it's a trap, and they're out for his lady. So he just immediately screams out his wife's name and books it.
Yeah.
And seems to make it back to the opening of the well in like 2 seconds, which is why it's weird that it took him so long to get into that initial room, because they seemed to get out awful quick. But then again, they could have just been trying to save time, and they didn't want to show him going all the way back out. But whatever. He gets out and realizes, my rope is gone. Looks up. Oh, look, it's Eichhorst.
Yeah,
is sitting
hello.
there. Yeah, and he's like, did you not? This is obviously like we set this trap out just for you, and you fell for it. Like, it's so obvious. Good luck getting home, essentially. And then just walks away.
Yeah, and at that point, Abraham's like, Eichhorst, face me.
Yep.
Come and face me. Because he knows that he knows that Eichhorst is about to make this battle really personal.
Yeah.
And he's trying to prevent that, but he's got no rope to climb out of there with. So what does he do? He climbs out of there with his bare hands.
Yeah,
it takes him
that
all
sword.
night.
Oh yeah, yep. So it's morning time by the time he gets out of there. He looks around, realizes his horse has been just cut straight open.
Yeah,
guts hanging out.
Tauntaun style.
Yeah, so it's gone, and he has to run back home.
Yeah, so he books it like hell.
And by the time he gets back, it's almost practically night again. And it's still light outside, but he walks in and sees that everything is just torn apart.
Yeah.
It's all gone. His wife is gone. There's nothing left, but the whole place is. So he knows something definitely happened. And then once night happens, the door opens, and in comes his wife with the 2 children that they had talked about earlier wanting to adopt.
Yeah.
So, we're supposed to assume that one of them
is
not able to have kids. And so, since when you turn, you go after the ones you love. She loved those children, and she turned them as well. She walked in, looked at him, shot her mouth inside of her mouth, out at him, and we just see him slice through the air with his sword. And then we cut back later, and we just see the devastation. of
decapitated heads. And he goes in for it, and you actually see him cut the heart out of the body.
Yep.
Which, if by that point you weren't 100% sure that it was her heart, you definitely know now.
Yeah.
Which was really crazy because you got to see all the worms coming out of it, and I was a little concerned that he was gonna have to start fighting worms off.
Yeah.
But
I feel like those worms can only really crawl in through like an open wound or like an eyeball, like something soft. Like I don't think they can break through skin on their own. I think that's kind of how they work.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it seems like if you get scratched or cut by one of them, then the worm gets in you.
Yeah.
Because it's an open wound, they can.
But
crawl
they can't
right in.
bury, dig them.
Yeah,
dig
they
their
don't
way
seem
in.
like they can really bury. They seem like they could just crawl into through a soft enough source.
Yeah.
So that's what happens in our flashbacks. And we cut back, and while we're getting these flashbacks, actually got to back up a little. Ephraim finally gets around to giving that emergency broadcast. He gets it out there. He says, look, this is what's happening. It's taking over New York. It could spread. Here's some autopsy pictures, and they showed a little bit of the video of them pulling the mouth out of the mouth, and it's like, look, it's like a stinger. This is what happens. And then Nora, it goes like this, speed it up, and he starts getting it out there. Okay, sunlight kills them. Bam, that's it. That's all he gets. He barely got sunlight kills them out of his mouth before he was cut off.
Yeah.
So he got some decent information out there, hopefully enough that people saw it and understand what's going on. he still has that issue of being kind of a wanted criminal. He doesn't know if people are going to believe him. Based on the evidence he has, I think people really should. But, I mean, people are dumb in this universe. We've seen that already. Nobody knows how to make the right decision. So it'll be interesting to see what people do with that information he gave them.
Yeah. And then while all that's going on, we meet up with Gus.
I mean, we can cover his story after we cover everything that happens to
I kind of want to save the end for, well, yeah, I guess we can just go
the
through
better
it.
ending is what happens to Gus.
That's true, yeah, I agree.
So, right after Ephraim finishes, bam, we hear screaming from Nora's mother. And at first, I just think, oh, God, what did this old lady do now? What'd she drop? Oh, did she break her ashtray? Oh, no, her ashtray. And then we hear, like, vampire noises. I'm like, oh, crap, that's not good.
Yep.
And then
that recording, sure enough, gave away their location.
Yep. And then we see, oh, look, the rock star's back. The rock star was back.
Yeah, he's the one attacking the mother.
Yeah, he was slurping on Nora's mother's neck. So they
Thank
walk
you for
in.
clarifying that.
Yeah. They walk in and, they get him off of her. They beat him down. They throw a table at him, and then they sort of just run out of the room with Nora's mother.
Yeah, and then Abraham tells him, we need to get downstairs into the secured, locked down part of the basement. So they all start moving down there. And then sure enough, you cut outside, and who do we see? Icor's with this little gang of vampires breaking in. Mm-hmm. So they got to get the hell out of there real quick and get downstairs, get in the cover.
Yep. So they hurry down there, and they get down just in time as Icor breaks through the main doors, and, he gets a look at Abe as they're walking down there. And then
I'm coming for you.
8230502 or whatever his number is. And so then they're all downstairs freaking out, trying to figure out what to do, and Abe tells them, oh, look, it's fine. There's a back exit through the meat locker. We're going to be cool. But the whole time, Nora's mother's sitting there bitten. Nora, of course, doesn't want to kill her, wants to take her with them, and that's all going on. Ephraim, he steps in. He's like, look, go find my son. I'll take care of this. He essentially gives her an out. Like, look, I know you don't want to do this, but it has to be done. I'll do it for you. But luckily, she kind of mans up finally and doesn't skip
No one's
out.
killing her mom except for her.
So she says, "Give me the sword," and she does it herself.
Yeah.
And that was a big turning point for her.
Yeah.
As a toughening thing to toughen her up, and also
it was good.
To
it was
finally free her. Oh my God, was the mother holding her back from being able to do things and whatever she needed to do, and she was just holding everybody back. So I'm glad that she's okay. The old lady died. That's unfortunate, but it's much better for the rest of them to get what they need to do done.
I'm really glad that Nora got to have that moment.
Yeah.
It's such a big moment for a character period, but she's really the only. I mean, you have the hacker girl, but really from the beginning, she's the only female who's there from the get-go.
Yeah.
And now she proved herself not just to everybody else, but to herself that she does have the strength and. She has the determined mind to when something needs to get done, she has to do it. And I think she even surprised Abe because this whole time Abe is watching her do this, and he's having flashbacks of when he decapitates his wife, and he feels
how hard it is.
He feels for her. They definitely have a little moment there, even though it's really little, it's really subtle. I think now they have a better understanding for each other just through that one little event.
And so they make it out through the meat locker just as everybody upstairs breaks through and gets into the lower area. And they make it down there, and Icor looks over, sees Abe's wife's heart in that jar, and is like, oh, Satrakian. He finally I think this is the first time he ever uses his name and realizes that this is a person. He says, look, You've given up
one thing
you've given up on the one thing you love still, but it's not enough. That won't save you.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what we see for the main group in this episode. And so then we also catch up with Gus in this episode. The first time we see him, he is outside of the auto shop where he went and sold that car for, what did he get, $3,000 or whatever?
Yeah. No, $300 or something.
It was a little more than that, I think. But
I don't know.
Yeah, he went there with his buddy and got sold the car to this guy for nothing because he pressured him and threatened him essentially. and is just waiting in the back of this guy's car for him to walk out. The guy sits down, gets in, and Gus, holds him up essentially. He's like, look, give me your gun, and you're going to take me to where you have your guns and your stuff, and you're going to give it to me, all right?
Because Gus is completely aware of the entire situation that's happening with all the vampires, so he wants to armor up because he knows if he doesn't, he's dead.
Yeah, the guy even says to him, look, I got a lot of friends, and those friends are going to want to help me out and hurt you if you do this to me. He's like, look, man, you know what's going on out here? This is insane.
The whole city's tearing itself apart.
Nobody's
no one's coming after me.
Yeah, so he realizes at this point, arming yourself is the only option. Doesn't matter what it takes. So this guy drives him out to the docking yard and takes him to his little shipping container office essentially. Pulls out a big bag of automatic rifles,
AR-15s, AKs, all that kind of stuff.
MP5. Sets it down, and then right as that happens, and he's about to leave, and Gus is about to leave, up pulls a car. And Gus freaks out and is like, who's that, man? What's going on? He said, look, it's just a business arrangement. Just calm down. I'll handle it. Don't worry. Gus sits down, puts his gun away, and in walks this gentleman with a bag. And he just looks at Gus, seems concerned, but the guy is like, don't worry about it. He's a business associate of mine. Not a problem. And everything just sort of goes fine, and the guy leaves, gets out of there.
He tells him where a specific crate is and when this crate needs to go out.
And so then, of course, Gus starts getting a little greedy. He's like, look, I already got the guns, but you know what? What's in that bag? Show me what's in that. I got the power here. I got all the guns. I got the weapons. You show me what's in there. Looks in the bag, sees it's just full of money. He's like, oh,
money.
Yep. He's like, if there's this much money in here, then what they're trying to get sent is important. You're going to go show me what's in that crate. And he gets to the crate, and I almost kind of expected that to be in there.
Really? I wasn't.
I did a little. I was like, I kind of have a feeling it's going to be like at least something related to these vampires that is going to help them. And sure enough, they open that door, and it's just full of them. And
they're transporting vampires in shipping crates now.
And in that moment, you realize, oh, no, this is getting big. Because
who knows how many of those shipping containers have vampires in them?
Yeah, it seems like crossing water is a big issue for vampires. Apparently, they can't do it on their own. They have to be transported across water. So, luckily, they're on New York, an island, essentially, or wherever they are at, because they can't get off without help. So, that kind of helps the group. It helps make sense story-wise how they're not going to be able to spread outside of where they are if they really can't cross water. So we see that, and then, of course, Gus just freaks out, starts shooting these guys. The other guy's freaking out. Look, man, give me a gun. Give me a gun. You got to help me out. Gus throws him a gun, and he starts shooting the vampires, and then decides...
turns and starts shooting Gus.
Oh, I'm going to get rid of this guy. He's trying to steal all my stuff. So he shoots a few rounds at Gus, who's not even paying attention to him. So it's like, okay, you should have been able to hit Gus. Come on. And then Gus is like, oh, no, you ain't shooting at me. And then just starts shooting back at him, and he gets in a firefight.
So they're shooting each other, and they're shooting vampires.
Yeah, as the vampires are coming towards him. And then Gus runs out of ammo, goes sort of hides someplace. The other guy comes around to where Gus was, and then Gus sneaks up behind him, knocks him down, grabs the gun, and then shoots some more vampires. And then out of nowhere pops my favorite little group of Jedi,
Green Arrow Jedi vampire hunters.
It's that guy's voice got so much more booming and important, and it sounded like he was talking through a megaphone just in his normal voice, and I was like, I like this. I like it.
I like where this is going.
Yep. And so they go up to both of the guys, and they first go up to the guy who's not Gus, and he's like, no, not him, the other guy.
Yeah.
Put a bag over Gus's head, stick him in the car, and drive off.
Yeah.
And I was just like, ooh, goody, goody, goody. And then the other guys just left there looking at all these vampire bodies, and they're all sitting there with like steam and smoke coming out of their heads because they were shot with some sort of silver ammunition.
Yeah.
And that was how they ended the episode, right? It was on that, I think. Or was it with the group?
It was with the group, but that was the last scene with Gus. But yeah, so I mean, that happens. And I'm really curious as to why Gus, or how is he connected?
Yeah, I'm curious why they want him. The only thing that popped into my mind was, maybe somehow they know that he interacted with the son, with Ephraim's son, and they want to try and have him be like, look, you take us to where you found this kid. We need to talk to his father. He's an important person.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they would possibly know that he found him. Maybe they saw footage of that convenience store. I don't know how they would possibly know. But that's the only thing I could think that might be a reason behind why they would want him. because other than that, he hasn't really done anything that important that would get him on anybody's radar.
Yeah, and he's never interacted with Ephraim.
Yeah.
Just his son. So it's going to be interesting to see what, and I mean, I'm going to assume that it'll be something that will get covered in the next episode.
Yeah, we only got one left.
Yeah, we only have one left, so this is like where they're going to have to tie up as many loose ends as they can.
Hopefully we'll see what happened with the wife, because they showed in the preview of, like, previously on, they showed her, so which kind of made you think, oh, maybe they're going to talk about her, but they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all that happens in this episode. We only got one left. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But
I really don't want it to end.
I know, but it'll come back. I think it's performing strong enough where it'll definitely get renewed. They already announced
it's already renewed for second season. Yeah,
no need to worry, it'll be back.
Yeah,
and there's so many other shows that we need to watch anyway that you don't want more on your plate. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into our wrap up probably. And
yes.
What did you think? Wrap up.
I really enjoyed this episode. It was definitely a little bit more exposition, a little bit more backstory on Abe, but I think we kind of needed it because the last couple episodes have been a little bigger in scale. So it was nice to kind of just have these this episode give us a little bit more closing. Oh, one thing we did forget to mention. Actually, we actually didn't mention how the episode ends.
Oh, yeah.
Eldritch.
Oh,
is visited.
I was just looking through my list right now. I knew I forgot something.
So, spoilers.
Well,
back to spoilers
back
real quick.
To spoilers. This isn't a wrap up. So Eldritch is sitting there, and
the master
shows
makes
up,
his way in,
and we're like, "Oh my god, the master showed up!"
Yeah.
And
I love we got all giddy. We're just like,
I was like, "Oh my god, he actually showed up!"
Yeah.
And then he sits there and just opens his mouth, and the master lets some liquid drip into his mouth.
I think it's his blood or his
okay, that makes sense.
His liquid.
The first thing I thought was, we've seen how he turns people. This is not how he turns people. I think he's killing them. I thought he was putting poison in his mouth, just end him and get rid of him and make him think he was going to get what he wanted. So that's what I was like, oh, this guy's dead. Haha. Just like Icorst said.
Yeah.
Like Aldrich, he's going to be gone. But then his bodyguard walks in and
he's out there singing in the rain.
Bed. And yeah, he's out dancing and singing in the rain. It's so excited and lively and colorful. He has his skin color back again. Yeah. And so, I guess the
it's
master,
kind of an important detail to leave out of this review.
Yeah. I'm glad I looked through this and you also remembered. But yeah, so that was pretty important for Eldritch.
Yeah.
And we'll see, if that gives him everlasting life, if that just healed what was wrong with him. It's sort of hard to tell what exactly the master did for him.
Yeah.
But either way, it was important and it was big. And so now we're going to go ahead and get into our wrap up.
Yeah. So I'm just going to recap what I said earlier. Really good episode. A little bit of exposition, but I feel like it was necessary to kind of understand more about Abe and finally figure some things out that were questionable or were not answered in the beginning. Really cool to see some of the characters that we have kind of been wanting to let them have their moment, finally have their moment. And good things happen with other characters, and we got to finally see other characters that we've been waiting to see what is next. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really good. So
yeah, I think I would agree with you. I would also give it an 8 out of 10. It was solid. I liked catching up with some of our secondary characters with Gus, finding out a little bit more backstory about Abe. That's always good to see sort of how he got where he was. The main action stuff that happened, I think it was a nice wrap up of the last week's episode and going into the future. And I think a lot of the things that happened made a lot of sense. I'm glad that some things, even though they were unfortunate, I'm glad they happened because I think it'll help the group move forward. And I'm also glad that the kid was barely in it because he still annoys me. But yeah, overall, this was definitely another solid episode, and I'm really excited to see what they do with this season finale because they could easily leave us on a really big cliffhanger for that next season. Since they know for a fact they're coming back already, they could leave us on a pretty big cliffhanger, and I'm pretty excited to see what they do.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. That's going to wrap it up for us. If you guys want to watch The Strain, Sundays, 10 p.m., next Sunday, season finale, be there.
Oh, man.
Gonna get crazy.
Yep.
We'll be back next Monday to give you guys the full wrap-up on the episode. In the meantime, if you guys want to subscribe, youtube.com/thefilmpundits, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under The Film Pundits. And you can find me just under Adam Havoc under all social media. And Eric, where can people catch you?
You can find me on Twitter at Thanks for the View with a 4 in the middle.
Cool. So until next week, guys, stay classy.
See ya.